I'm going to be showing you that you don't need to panic when known big annual expenses come round, such as buying Christmas gifts or paying for car insurance. Welcome back. I'm Jeff, a qualified chartered accountant with over a decade of experience, and I have a passion for personal finance. My aim is to show people that numbers and money aren't scary, and I can show you how to set good financial behaviors to set you up for a lifetime of making your money work for you. If you want to learn more about personal finance in a fun and easy to understand format, please subscribe and like this video as it really helped me out. I owe you one. Now, let's jump right in. Have you ever made it to December and realized that you haven't started buying your Christmas presents yet? Not only that, you have no idea how you're going to pay for the gifts because you've also got 5 different Christmas parties to attend, each costing a small fortune. Don't worry, you're not alone. Surveys suggest that around 20% of Brits wait until December to start purchasing gifts. Not only that, 60% of holiday shoppers use credit for their purchases. And to nail the hammer into the coffin, 82% of these people are unable to pay off within a month, leading to ongoing financial burdens into the new year. Let me tell you a story. Cast your mind back to December 2014, back in the good old days when interest rates were 0.5%. I had just bought a tiny one-bed flat and moved out of my parents' house and was living on my own for the first time and loving it, I may add. I felt a huge amount of pride that I was going out into the world independently and no longer relying on my mum's home-cooked dinners or her doing my laundry, nor did I have to worry about coming back from a night out and not waking anyone up. Things were looking up. Before I had a place of my own, I had built up a decent savings pot as my outgoings were low as I was living with my parents. I didn't have to worry about not having enough money as I'd always have a roof over my head when living at my parents' house. However, I had to spend the majority of my life savings to pay the deposit and furnish the house. I remember realizing a few days after moving into my new home that I now had real grown-up outgoings such as a mortgage, having to go out and pay for groceries, and pay the annual service charge on my flat. This is when I came up with my strategy to tackle big annual spends so that I was prepared for it. It was a simple strategy. All I had to do was identify my annual outgoings such as car insurance, service charge, and Christmas spend, and save for these expenditures throughout the year so that by the time the payments were due, I already had the money in the bank, ready to go. This was a real eureka moment for me because without this strategy, I wouldn't have been able to pay for these big annual spends, and I felt a huge sense of relief. Step 1. You need to identify all the big annual outgoings that you have and then estimate their cost. Examples of this are service charges if you live in a flat, car insurance, holidays, and Christmas shopping. Extra credit if you can identify big spends that only happen every few years. For example, mortgage arrangement fees when your current fixed rate ends. If you're having trouble estimating these expenses, just go through your old bank statements and locate these costs from the last time you paid for it. You can also use price comparison websites to estimate spend for things like car insurance. Next, review these expenses. Are they necessary? I'd argue that you shouldn't be saving up for a holiday if you're already in credit card debt. Credit card debts should be paid off first. Now ask yourself, do you really need to spend so much money during the Christmas period? People waste so much money buying expensive gifts that the recipients didn't even want anyway. What me and my family tend to do is set ourselves a small cash limit per gift so that we aren't spending unnecessary money, but still have enough of a budget to buy something thoughtful. Alternatively, you could do something like Secret Santa where you buy just one gift. So, for example, if there's a bunch of friends that normally buy gifts for everyone in that friendship group. Step 2. Calculate how much you need to save per month so that by the time the expense is due, you have the money saved up already. This is as simple as taking an annual car insurance cost and dividing it by 12 months. And there you go. You've already calculated how much you need to set aside a month so that you're not scrambling around for the cash when your car insurance is due. Carry this out on all of the outgoings that you identified in step 1, and you'll be able to calculate the total amount that you need to save each month. This is such a simple but super effective method of being able to afford big expenses as they become due. Remember, if you paid for something 6 months ago and you don't have any savings, you only have 6 months left to save for the next time it's due. So make sure you account for this. For extra credit, what I like to do is divide annual expenses by 11 rather than by 12 months, because generally you'll be accumulating savings for 11 months and paying for the actual expense in the 12th month. But you do you, feel free to keep things simple. If you identified things you don't need to pay for until more than a year has elapsed, simply just divide the total amount by the number of months before the payment is due. The best way to keep track of all of this is through a spreadsheet. This is really simple to set up, so don't panic if you're not good at Excel. Here's a snippet of my real-life spreadsheet going back to when I first set this up in December 2014. As you can see, I started putting money aside for various buckets, and it took me to August 2015 to really settle into a monthly pattern of saving the same amount each month. Your spreadsheet should look something similar so that you can keep track of your monthly savings as well as the cash going out the door when you actually have to spend it. This space is very important as you then have an up-to-date amount to pay for the next year as you've just paid for it. If you'd like me to set up a simple template for you to budget and track these expenses, let me know in the comments below. Step 3. Save the monthly amount each month as set out in your spreadsheet. As soon as you receive your paycheck, pay yourself first by ensuring you have an easy access savings account which pays a decent rate of interest. I put a link in the description below containing the accounts paying the best savings rates, but ensure you do your own research as interest rates can change very quickly. Another thing that you can do is to set up a standing order from your current account so that on the day you get paid, the bank automatically moves the correct amount into your savings account so that you don't have to worry about forgetting to pay into your savings account. Step 4. I know life gets in the way sometimes, and you might find that in some months it's just impossible to save the amount that you had intended. The key to this is not to panic. You can adjust the amounts in your spreadsheet so that if you save less in a particular month, you can set aside more in the next month to make up for it. You should also be saving up cash in an emergency fund so that if, for example, your car gets a puncture, you don't need to dip into your savings as we've discussed in order to replace your tire. Aim to save up around £1,000 first, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to give you some comfort in a small emergency. Typically, emergency funds should be at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly outgoings, so this is a good target to aim for as you build up your savings. It's very important that the savings we discuss for each of your buckets and your emergency savings are kept in an easy access savings account so that you can get to your money quickly when you need it. You do not want to be putting these savings into an investment account, as investments should generally be used for long-term savings. You should also not put these savings into fixed-rate savings accounts, as these typically would not allow you to withdraw your money unless you paid a penalty on the interest that you've earned. Once you have a sizable emergency fund set up, you can then enter the expert level of this savings game. But only do this if you're comfortable with this mechanic and know what you are doing. The expert level is this. You can cross-utilize funds that you saved up if you need to adapt your strategy. What do I mean by this? If you save £500 for your annual car insurance, but when the renewal came through, the best rate you found on price comparison websites was £750, this would be frustrating, but not the end of the world. So what you would do, you would begrudgingly pay the £750 to renew your car insurance, taking it all out of your savings pots. We'd end up with a negative figure in your car insurance pots, but you will still overall have a positive balance because of the other savings buckets you already have, as well as your emergency fund. All you need to do now is update your monthly savings for your car insurance to ensure that you have £750 in 12 months' time, as well as putting more in so that you can clear the negative £250 in your car insurance savings pot. Don't worry if I didn't explain this very well. Just keep things simple and build up a liquid emergency fund. If you have credit card debt, please pay this off as well. If you follow these 4 steps, you'll never again have to worry about not having enough money to pay your big annual expenses, and you would have instilled a fantastic behavior in your mindset. It's important to carry this out consistently and periodically review your spreadsheet and adjust accordingly. I tend to review mine about once a month. Before you know it, your brain will be identifying further items you never thought of before, as well as any new expenses that crop up. You should have peace of mind sooner than you think the more you update your behaviors when it comes to savings. You'll be able to enjoy the big events without guilt or stress, and more importantly, you won't have to rely on getting into credit card debt, and you'll have a sizable emergency fund so that your cash can work for you when the going gets tough. Thank you for watching. Until next time, happy saving and investing. I'm Jeff, and I'll see you soon.